Hello everyone, I am Alex Barie, the lead editor of TNAnews.com, and I'm here bringing you a new audio podcast. I love doing these things. I want to do them more, but as always, time is the issue. But hopefully I can roll out more in the coming weeks or months or whatever. But there's a discussion I want to talk about today. Not only give my thoughts, but get your thoughts as well, because this is brought up to my attention just yesterday, and I really think that if it's possible, if it is right, we really need to evaluate TNA Wrestling. We need to evaluate almost the whole industry for that matter. But first off, let me talk about, before I get into the whole discussion, let me talk about TNA Wrestling's Bound for Glory. Now, there's so many issues with this from people. There's a lot of mixed reactions, but there's no storyline build to the matches only being announced online. Half of the TNA roster is not even part of the pay-per-view. The pay-per-view that's the biggest pay-per-view of the year for the company, for TNA Wrestling, all that sort of stuff. But I want to extract two things from a post TNA Wrestling made on their website when they announced the matches. And that was from John Gaburick, the vice president of TNA Wrestling. And he says, "I can confidently say," and I quote, "that this would be the most intriguing and captivating 3 hours of professional wrestling action all year." He then goes on and says, "Bound for Glory will once again set the standard for the best wrestling in the world." Now then, there was a Grantland interview that TNA Wrestling took part in. Dixie Carter, John Burke, many others, superstars from Bobby Roode to former star AJ Styles and so forth. And John Gaburick said, and I quote, "I think the audience was challenging us to give them something a little more straightforward, good old-fashioned wrestling instead of the elaborate talk or long drawn-out stories. The long-form storylines that take forever to play out were not that effective." So those three quotes I gave you sums up what John Gaburick, what TNA Wrestling is trying to achieve, what they're trying to move towards, and that is wrestling. Pure wrestling. Now, I talked to Rick Santos, who is former TNAnews.com writer, now operating Ring Life, and we talked about Bound for Glory and TNA, and he has his different thoughts, different opinions, analysis about the whole pay-per-view, let alone the company. But after we talked, there's a theory, an idea, a thought that came to my mind about TNA, and simply put, that is TNA Wrestling a niche company? Is that what they're trying to be now? Is that their direction? Are they going that different route? And if that's the case, if they are, I have to step back. We all have to step back and give them time. Give them time to develop it, time to change. Because firsthand, you all know from my writings on TNAnews.com, pyroandballyhoo.com, my Facebook, my Twitter, I've criticized TNA Wrestling on many levels, from Bound for Glory to their shows, to their lackluster storylines. There are no storylines. Their shows are just filled with pure wrestling. And I'll get into that a little bit later. But if they are going to be in this new direction, if they are going to be a niche company, we have to, or I have to, whatever, reevaluate them the whole 9 yards. I got to look at them so much differently than what I have been. There are pretty much three types of wrestling fans, of basically fans, and that's the casual fans, the wrestling fans, and the hardcore wrestling fans. The casual fans watch for characters and storylines. They tune in and out most of the time. Now the wrestling fans, they pretty much watch every week. They buy the WWE Network, the DVDs, etc. Then the hardcore wrestling fans, watch WWE, TNA, Ring of Honor, the Indies, promotions all over the world, etc. They're the really involved in it. They eat, sleep, and breathe pure wrestling, and that's all they watch. Now, WWE, as we know, is a sports entertainment company. They deal with the entertaining people, with their storylines, and also their wrestling. We can't deny that they have some great wrestling matches. Then you have the Ring of Honor, ROH, or as they call themselves, ROH Entertainment LLC, and that deals, mostly with characters and wrestling. And you could be entertained with wrestling. It's a fact. I am, probably all you, most of you are. But the thing is, you watch for the matches on their show. I've been watching Ring of Honor for a couple of months now, and I love the wrestling matches. I think their matches are great, are amazing. But when you look at them, and you look at the company ROH as a whole, they're very small. They don't produce the ratings, the viewership that WWE does, or even TNA does. And they go to, they do travel. They go all over the country. And they pretty much fill up their arena that they go to. But their arenas maybe hold a couple hundred people, small complex, a college arena of some sort. But they feel they have a little, area where they have their core fans. Their fans that always support them. And that's great. I come to accept that Ring of Honor, that ROH, is about being wrestling. Because that's all they are. Their whole show, besides from character development here and there, it's wrestling matches. Great wrestling matches, absolutely, but just wrestling. And that's what they are about. They are that niche company, and they will stay that size in the United States as long as they go in that direction. They're not going to expand, and sure they could possibly, but with their television deals, if they're the way they produce, the way they market, they're going to stay that size of a company here in the States, for the rest of the time being, unless they move on out into that different field, into that more entertainment side, the storyline, the characters. But being a wrestling company, a pure wrestling ability, they're going to stay where they are. But what about TNA now? That's what I want to discuss. TNA Wrestling, or on their website, TNA Entertainment LLC. They've been in existence for 12 years. They've been in every type of situation. They've been the alternative company. They then turned to the WWE Light, when they tried to really compete with them on the same level, but couldn't do it. They went back to being the alternative. And now are they that niche company? Now let's not mistake the alternative to the niche company. Okay? In order to be competitive, you need to do something different than the competition. And TNA is doing that. They have the difference, from what I'm seeing right now from these quotes from John Gaburk, their difference is the wrestling. Now, is that their competitive advantage? Is that what they're trying to do better than WWE, than Ring of Honor, and so forth? To be the best, showcase the best wrestling matches, not only in the country, but pretty much in the world. And if that's the case, we got to go back to the three major types of fans. The casual fans, wrestling fans, and hardcore wrestling fans. Where do they draw the line? Are they going after the hardcore wrestling fans? Or are they going after the wrestling fans? They certainly aren't going after the casual fans, because the casual fans, believe it or not, they don't care about the matches. They don't care about the wrestling matches. They're the storyline people, the character people. They want, those people who watch, the casual fans who watch, are the same people who pretty much watch every other show on TV. The Walking Dead, American Horror Story, Dexter, Gotham, Blacklist. All those shows have story-driven angles. Are all about storylines. That's what they're about, and that's why the viewership for those shows are so high, because of the stories, because of the angle, because of the characters. Not because of the wrestling. And let's face it, wrestling matches, they're predetermined. They're scripted, and everyone knows that who's older than 12 years old. So if TNA is going to be that different company, that niche company, all about wrestling, is that something that they're going to grow at? Will that make them grow, not only here in the United States, but also the world? Now let me step back and clearly state that the cultures here in the United States and in Japan are different. Here in the United States and India, here in the United States and Africa, here in the United States and the United Kingdom, they're different. But here in the States, here in the United States, we don't care, sadly, about wrestling matches. We aren't the culture who will sit down and watch non-stop wrestling. And now, there's hardcore wrestling fans. There are those wrestling fans who will. Exactly. There's always a market. But how big is that market? If you look back, you see the WWE Network, from their last account, it's less than 1 million subscribers here in the United States. Maybe around 1 million, but from last we saw, it was under 1 million. That's almost about the same amount of viewers that TNA gets in the United States a week. And that's basically the wrestling and hardcore wrestling fans. So if TNA is here to just go after that market, the market that they already have, are they really going to grow? Are they really going to bring their viewership to the next level? They have the wrestling and hardcore wrestling fans. They're watching. Now they need the casual fans. Now they need that next viewership. And if they don't get that, they're going to stay at the same benchmark, the same number they've been at for the past couple of years. And I see TNA trying to go this wrestling route. I always talk about being a competitor and what they do, competitive advantage. But what about, can't you be a competitor in storytelling? I mean, look at WWE's lackluster lateral stories, back and forth. They're undesirable. No one really cares. The authority angle has been stagnant for months upon months. The whole Seth Rollins thing, turning against the Shield of Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose, that was intriguing, interesting. Where have they gone from there? That was months ago, and we still see Ambrose trying to get his hands on Seth Rollins. He could at Hell in a Cell, but again, we're stagnant. It's back and forth for the time being. Beyond that, their shows are a democratic mess. Who are they targeting? The kids, the females, the males? It's all over the place. I don't know. Sure, you want to get as much people watching as possible. But you need a certain demographic. You need to target one of them to get the maximum out of that demographic. And if you pick 3 demographics, that's fine. That's great. More power to you. But you need to cater a show around all 3 of them. And if we see it from this past Monday's show, Today hosts an alligator wrestling, there's a bull or something. I didn't even see that part. Then you have ketchup and mustard flying. It was just chaotic mess. And they're never going to hit their maximum power, maximum viewership, going back and forth and having lateral storylines. So, as we go back to TNA, and they're trying to focus on this casual or the hardcore fans, on the wrestling fans, what about the other audience? They get about 1 million viewers a week. Raw gets about 4 million. Why aren't they capturing the other 75%? How can you capture them? How can TNA get those people watching their show? Are they thinking that they can capture them because of good wrestling, because they have fantastic wrestling matches week in and week out? I mean, listen, if I was a casual fan and I wanted good wrestling, I don't have to look any further than to go watch a match on YouTube. Or even buy a network, for all that matter, if they were that serious about watching good wrestling. It's simple, it's right there. Buy a network, you have almost unlimited access to every major wrestling promotion in the United States from years ago. You go on YouTube, you can easily find great, amazing, phenomenal matches. Why would people tune into TNA for 2 hours a week to watch good wrestling? Well, they could go on YouTube and watch a good, great, phenomenal, whatever classic match for 40 minutes and then be done. And simply put, you watch TNA, there's no stories. Yeah, there are some. Nothing long. No payoff. They're telling us to watch it for the wrestling. It's just as easy as going to YouTube and finding a match yourself. So now TNA is focusing on the pure wrestling fans. Are they now going against Ring of Honor, who is after those same people, who has been targeting those people for countless years? And if they are, how can I even evaluate them as a growing company here in the United States? I look at TNA Wrestling, and I love them. I love TNA Wrestling. Watched them since 2006. Even saw them beforehand, but watched them non-stop since 2006. I see people come and go. I've seen them grow as a company internationally. But here in the United States, they've been stagnant. Very stagnant. But I watch them week in and week out. And I love them. Because when they do better, not only does TNA News do better, but the whole wrestling industry does better. People do better. People who work for TNA would do better from pay. The people in the indies would do better because they would have not just one company, WWE, to go to. They'll have TNA Wrestling because TNA Wrestling is prospering and being successful and becoming bigger and better. You want options. So, if TNA Wrestling thinks they can't grow here in the United States, do they think that? Is there a change of plans now? I mean, you look at them for the past 12 years, and I said they're stagnant for the last 12 years in the United States. Have they come to realize that? Have they come to acknowledge it? Until they state that their strategic plan is to just capture that audience, that wrestling and pure wrestling demographic, we're just here to wonder. We're just here to ponder the thought. But looking from John Gilbert's statements and looking from how they've been producing their shows, we have to come to some reasonable thought process that says it doesn't look like they want the casual fans. It doesn't look like they want to grow the wrestling company, their viewership. TNA Wrestling is going to be a niche company. I had to look at them completely different. In terms of what they're doing, business and show-wise. I wrote an article last week stating, titled, "Should I Feel Sorry for TNA?" And basically, should I? Should I feel sorry for a company who doesn't produce live events anymore, whose viewership numbers are down, whose TV deal has come to an end, and they're still scrambling and trying to find a new home to air their product? Should I feel embarrassed by them? To know that the stars of AJ Styles, Christopher Daniels, Kazarian, Chris Sabin, ODB, and the list goes on. People who've been there for years upon years upon years, some since the inception of the company, are gone. Gone from the people who they built for years upon years. For a decade, they built them up, become recognizable names within the company. I said this before. When I first saw my TNA Wrestling show, TNA Impact on Fox Sports Net in 2005, first person that I can remember seeing was AJ Styles. And that stuck to me to this day. That my first encounter with TNA Impact was seeing AJ Styles and seeing how phenomenal he actually was and still is today. Seeing the talent that this guy possesses is unthinkable, unimaginable. He's that great. And now seeing him go from a company he's been around since 12 years, 11, 12 years, leave. Yeah, I know that money's, an option and all that sort of stuff. But if TNA really wanted him, they would have kept him. They would have given him the amount of money that he wanted. Sure, you could say AJ Styles doesn't draw and all that sort of stuff, but AJ Styles is a pure athlete. And if TNA Wrestling is going the route of being a pure wrestling show, let me ask you this, why don't they have him to lead the charge of being pure wrestling? Can you even think about that? Can you picture, why would they get rid of one of the most athletically gifted person on their roster, the phenomenal one, because, why would they get rid of them if they're going the pure wrestling route? Then maybe they're not going to the pure wrestling route. Maybe they aren't then. Then why is all these quotes from John Goldberg about pure wrestling and being the greatest wrestling entertainment spectacle that you'll see, in your life? I don't get it. But listen, I've been watching TNA, as I said, since 2006, and I love this company. And I wrote an article pouring my passion out, my feelings, because I want TNA Wrestling to do better. I really do, for the betterment of TNA. And I do criticize a lot recently about TNA, saying that maybe the six-side ring was a failure to bring back. Where are the storylines on this show? Why aren't you capturing, the casual fans? Why aren't you, trying to bring them in through storylines and characters? Why are you just tossing your biggest pay-per-view of the year, Bound for Glory, out the window for some international exposure? Yeah, that's great and all. But here in the United States, I want you to build up. I want you to become successful. I want you to succeed and prosper and grow here in the United States. And you aren't doing that. Doesn't it seem like you even care? And should I feel bad? Should I feel embarrassed? Because I don't work for TNA Wrestling. I don't get paid by them. I'm not working. I don't have a contract. They don't send me a paycheck every week. So should I care? Should I just step back and say, all right, I'm a fan of the product and I'll just watch? Whether it's good or bad, if it's bad, I won't watch. Because that's what fans do. you're not a fan of the product anymore, you're not going to watch. So should I stop watching? But I come to the realization that I care so much about TNA, and I may feel embarrassed by them at times, but I care and I feel embarrassed because I have so much passion for the company. I love TNA Wrestling. And if upper management doesn't feel the same way about it than I do, if they don't love the company, if they don't have passion for the company and want it to grow in terms of viewership, in terms of live event attendance, in terms of even securing a great television deal that would be seen, that's able to be seen by more than 50 million viewers, because Spike TV had almost 98 million viewers in its realm. It had them, household-wise. 98 million. And TNA's audience was only 1 million. Maybe. And if TNA management does not have the passion that I do, that I have, and I will pour passion out of my body, out of my eyes, and it will bleed down, hopefully, to Nashville, so they could get it, capture it, and have it for themselves. They have enough passion for this company to go around, because I love them so much, because I want them to be great, successful. I want them to prosper. That's why I do what I do. That's why I write about TNA Wrestling all the time. That's why I run TNAnews.com. That's why I'm doing this podcast right now, because I care about TNA Wrestling. I want them to prosper. I want them to be great. I want them to be seen by as many people as possible. They literally should be seen. Impact Wrestling should be seen by 3 to 4 million people. The talent they have in that company on the roster is, you can't compare it. They are extraordinary. From Kurt Angle to Bully Ray, to Bram, to Gunner, to Magnus, to Samoa Joe, to Low Key, to Jeff Hardy. The list goes on and on and on. They got the veterans. They also have the young guns. They have it all. The knockouts are absolutely extraordinary. Absolutely. And they could go head to head with any diva in the WWE and win. I have no doubt about that. And that's why when I saw Impact Wrestling last week and Gail Kim versus Havoc main evented the show, I said that is what TNA Wrestling's all about. The talent, the knockouts. And it's so awesome to see them get to showcase their talent and shine. You don't see that in WWE. Yeah, you have total divas. But what really does that consist? That's completely different from a demographic standpoint to show standpoint. Completely different. Marketing wise. When we look back, if TNA is going in this niche market direction, should I even show my passion anymore to help them grow? Because then, if they are going in this niche company direction, they no longer want to grow. They want to have their core audience, and that's it. They want to please the wrestling and hardcore wrestling fans, and that's it. They don't care about the casual fans. They don't care about the people who will tune in because they're interested. They care about the people who will tune in every single week, no matter what. Listen, TNA, they are already doing that. You already secured that audience. Now it's time to grow the audience, to grow in size and the people who are watching. I really wonder if deep down inside, do they think this the entire time? Do they really think they can't grow the United States this entire time? Why are they changing it now? I don't I can't wrap my head. It's mind-boggling to me. Being a niche company, they won't help the television deal that they're trying to get. Because really, they just care about the pure wrestling side. Instead of growing, they're pretty much stating, we have this pure audience. And Spike TV even went out to say this before. They could tell, they know, on a click of a time switch, that they know what TNA Wrestling will bring in every single week. How many viewers? They're doing that for years upon years. If they go to a television network and say, we bring in this many people, guaranteed, every single week. Yeah, that's great. Million plus whatever people, around 1 million, that's some great numbers. Don't get me wrong, that is great. I'd love to have a show with 1 million viewers a week. But then, I would think that the network would stand back and say, well, how can we grow it to 2 million viewers? How can we grow it to 3 million viewers? Because at the end of the day, networks want the most people watching their shows as possible, right? Am I wrong? I want the most people viewing TNAnews.com as possible. I like the core audience that I have at TNAnews.com. We have a loyal community. But that's not good enough. Nothing should be good enough. You should always strive to become better and bigger. And that's what TNA needs. TNA needs to realize that. And when the network asks them that, when they ask them, well, how are you going to grow it? I could see Dixie Carter or John Gaburk state, why would we need to grow it? We got our loyal fans. It's guaranteed. That's what's mind-boggling to me. And I wouldn't be surprised if they actually said that to the network. I wouldn't be surprised. I can only speculate this. I don't know for sure TNA is going in this direction. We just got to look at the quotes. We just got to look at how they're quote-unquote marketing the show, being a wrestling show. And I wonder, with the expenses that TNA Wrestling has, in the small market that they're targeting, can it turn them a profit? Now, I know it's completely sidetracked from everything else, and it's going to a part that I don't even know the numbers for. I mean, I honestly think that TNA is making a profit. I do. But that profit comes from television deals. That's the main source, the television deals. And now if they're moving away from Spike TV, who has given them pretty much a secure amount, say, it's estimated around $6 million a year. With another network who has less market share, who is seen by less amount of people, going to give TNA that same amount of money? Are they, honestly? Can they afford that? So if TNA loses some of their income, yeah, they got to cut stuff. They cut live events. They've been cutting their roster for the better part of the year to offset the expenses, turn a profit. Now they're going to a niche company, which they're completely fine with whoever's watching their show. They're completely fine with their guaranteed audience of 1 million viewers. And then the lesser TV deal that they're going to get. Will they turn a profit? I don't know. That's just pure top of my head speculation. They're going to have to make it work somehow. But in closing, If TNA Wrestling becomes a niche company, I got to accept that and move on, knowing that they no longer want to grow here in the United States. They're comfortable at where they are at, with the amount of people they're watching, and that's it. And I gotta accept that. And if I accept that, if they are going to indeed do that, be this niche company, then I'm gonna have to lay off of them. And maybe I will no longer give my points, my, thoughts on how to make them better, to how, give them a bigger audience. Because I got this platform, TNAnews.com, for TNA Wrestling to look at, examine, to read what TNA fans are talking about, what they like and what they don't like, what they want to see and what they don't want to see. I have this platform for them. And as you notice from the recent writings, not only from me, but from other writers and comments that are being wrote on the site, that there are fans, TNA Wrestling fans, loyal, passionate fans who aren't happy about the product, who aren't happy about the company. And I know TNA reads it. They've contacted me several times about it. And if they read it and they see these, fans who aren't happy, a platform that is, read by their audience, shouldn't they say, well, maybe we should do something different. Maybe we should change a bit. Because in this day and age, honestly, no one cares about pure wrestling. The matches are scripted, they're fake. I would rather see a show. I've been watching Dexter on Netflix, and the story is fantastic. I can't wait to watch the next episode. That's how great it is. I would rather watch that than a match thrown together on a pay-per-view, aka Bound for Glory, where I know only one person in the match. I'm sure the wrestling would be phenomenal, would be amazing on the pay-per-view. But it's not going to catch my interest at the end, where a show that's so captivating and engaging, from the story to the characters, I'm going to watch more of that. Because really, at the end of the day, I could watch a fantastic wrestling match on the network, on YouTube. I could find one and watch it, no problem. Why would I pay $50 to watch good wrestling? So is TNA Wrestling a niche company? Are they going that direction? And we speculate, we ponder, we wonder, and that's all we have to do for now. But if they indeed are, and I surely have to rethink the entire state of the company itself. I am Alex Barie for TNAnews.com.